So I'm going to dive right into the shop house right now. I hope to give you some insight and what are the things that's important to look out for when you look at the shop house itself, right? So allow me to share screen. Just hang on a second. Okay, you'll be ready in just a second. Okay, guys, can you see my screen? If you can, please give a 1. Just keep some energy going. Great. All right. Okay, cool. I can see some ones over here, right? Thank you. Okay, just before we start, because this property itself is is a quantum is high and it's not for everyone. So you need to do some risk assessment. Everyone risk is different. So probably contact your agent or us to go through the financial plan review because everyone risk appetite is different. Yeah. Okay, why shop house? It's very important to understand shop house itself. It's actually a very niche market. You can see there's no more supply. You can only buy what's existing, right? Then the second thing that important, right, is about shop house is that foreigners are eligible, and when they buy, they do not need to pay ABSD. What I'm talking about it is actually commercial zoning, a blue zone, dark blue zone, all right? Because there are many categories itself. So today we are not going to touch on everything. We're going to run through deep and real fast. So we are touching on commercial blue zone as just that. Okay, the other thing is beside that, you are buying a part of history. A shop house itself, just imagine if let's say you buy a shop house and you found that Tan Kaki actually make a decision in this shop house itself and this transforms Singapore. What do you think the property will be like? Would the property appreciate after you buy and you find out this piece of news? I leave it to you, right? So just now I touch about the so-called why call shop house, why buy shop house. So basically, we benchmark against the residential property and landed. Why? Because this is a huge quantum. So we talk about millions compared with millions, apple to apple comparison. And you can see this is no-brainer. Basically, we talk about demand and supply, right? If you have lesser supply, sorry, just go over there. You have lesser supply, demand, supply, the price will actually go up. Sorry, this is a bit fast. The price will actually go up. It's actually demand and supply. So even for ABST itself, you do not need to pay because it's commercial zoning, right? Blue zone, as compared to those that you have for the residential property where foreigners are paying 20%. Just imagine if you are paying 20% ABST, what is the price that you're going to sell? You need to pay. You need to actually benchmark around 20 and another 20% more. If you are local, you can just price it 20%. So as a foreigner, you already disadvantage your exit strategy already. So this is a special asset class for you. Secondly, for landed itself, you need to get LAUD to prove. And to get that approved, is you must be somebody, maybe it's Mr. Dyson or Li Ka-shing. So if you do not have build up those kind of like economic benefits into inject that kind of economic benefits into Singapore, probably not even try because it's just wasting your time, right? So another good thing about this shop house itself is the SSD. So what I meant by that is that you can buy today and sell tomorrow, which is not possible for residential property. So it's the beauty of it is the exit is so fast. Then of course rental yield itself, some of my clients actually rent out their HDB and then they landed and do some business operation in it. So in that case, it's actually quite affordable. They did it in MacPherson about close to 3 to 4K rental. So you can see that the rental yield is not that high. It depends on location as well as compared to shop house, where if you compare to district 1 and 2, the niche district, district 1 and 2, where there's only about 1,002 shop houses there, you probably can have higher yield, right? Okay, so just now I talked about this foreign eligibility and the LADU approval, so I'm not going to touch on that again. Okay, now come to this part. Actually, there's 4 things. Just this is why you buy a shop house. It's actually wealth preservation. It's not just shop house itself. Generally in Singapore, the properties are able to preserve its value, especially for freehold where the land is not depreciated. So buying a freehold shop house and own a piece of land as compared to an apartment where you just own the airspace. So it's something that it can preserve your value in long term. As you can see just now, at 7,000 shop houses, there's so little shop houses for the foreigner to choose from. Just imagine 7.7 billion population in Singapore. I mean, in the whole world, 7.7 billion, and 2% of the high net worth. It is about 15 million people would come to buy, and for this kind of property, it is not sufficient for them. All right. So capital appreciation, if we talk about demand and supply. So when there's less supply, of course, the price ultimately, I leave it to you whether it go up or go down. You decide, right? I have thought on it. Then recurring income from the leasing. Well, if you pick the right property with the right trade, you can have a higher rental yield. I will touch on that later. Another thing that is not in this slide is that the flexibility of the shop house. Why is that so? For example, you have a shop house, 4-story. The top story you can use it as office. You can second story as yoga. Third story you can do as a gym or a music school. Last story you can the first story you can actually do a F&B or massage or whatever retail. So you can see the flexibility in using the retails, the space as compared to industrial B1, B2, where there are restricted trades, then as compared to offices where you can only use as offices. So there's a lot of flexibility in using shop houses if you know how to do it. Yeah. Okay, before you even touch on buying something, you need to know who is your buyer. This is what millionaires and billionaires do. When they buy something, when they make something for their potential customer, they want to know who is going to buy my house who is going to buy my shop house in future. So if you are looking at this family office, so you want to set up a family office, would you set up in District 1 and 2 or Katong, for example? Would you set up in Club Street or Katong? So certain place when you look at it, you need to look at where to buy your shop house and who is the party is going to buy it. So looking at that, I think it's a no-brainer. You know exactly what I'm driving at. Different location have different type of views and drawing different crowd. Like for example, Kampung Glam itself is a so-called traditional tourist area. So that is a place where tourists will visit. So this is something I would like to share. Yeah. Again, these are some examples of shop house being transacted during the circuit breakers and recently. So I'm not going to dive in deep on that. You can read up the articles it's over here. All right. Okay, I'm going to share some insight about 8M. So what is their direction? So previously when 8M, right, they have 55 shop house under their belt. Their portfolio is looking at offices on top, and then they have also F&B below, and also hotels and hospitality. So they move a little bit strategic to now. Even before COVID, they already moved in their direction. What they are moving into, they are moving to hospitality. They are doing less of offices. They are moving into the so-called hospitality sector, which is the service apartment, hotel, and ground floor. They are focusing on F&B because these are the higher rental yield. So from this itself, we are not going to reinvent the wheel. They have spent a lot of money in researching the market, which one is actually doing the having the highest rental yield, and they are successful. So we are not going to spend that kind of money to get the kind of intel and run through a process. We're just going to copy their success factor, and they are very successful, right? Okay, what does blue means? I think blue, right? When you look at the blue in the master plan, this is what investors always zoom at. When you zoom into the master plan, when you see dark blue, it's actually money to me. So why? Because the flexibility of foreigners can own. The other types of shop houses, the light blue and all those, right? I'm not going to touch in brief. It is foreigners are not eligible to buy. You need special approval to do that. And like I said earlier, if you are Li Ka-shing or you are Mr. Dyson, then that kind of caliber in terms of injecting into Singapore, then maybe you can consider that. So if not, let's focus on the dark blue. So here we have Arab Street. So over here, there is only 600 shop houses here, right? Can you see the demand and supply that we have? And this is a traditional tourist area, right? So the kind of trade you need to know to do have at this area, right? Okay, now a little bit into the, you dive in deep into the unit. It's about 1,003 land size, about 3,009 GFA, 99 years lease, and it's a 4-story shop house. The key USP, I would say the unique selling point of this is actually the F&B and hostel operator, which is the trade that I mentioned that 8M is actually zooming in as well. So this is hospitality and F&B. If you look along the street of the shop house, which of them at the whole entire Arab Street are doing F&B and also doing hospitality? You probably find not a lot. So from the demand and supply point of view, you will know that the rental yield that you get, even though you don't look at the numbers, what are the rental they are getting, and extrapolate to 12 months and find out the rental yield, by just thinking about logic and by observing the shop house area, you will know this is a higher yield trade, right? Okay, we did a little bit of research from URA, so you can see all this. I'm not going to dive in deep because it's already shown on screen. So all these are approved from level 1, level 2 to level 4 is a hostel, and level 1 is a restaurant. Okay, something X factor, right? Okay, this is Kampong Glam, and I talk about demand and supply. So this part of itself is stating that Kampong Glam can no longer do what? No longer can have additional F&B. So if you have an F&B approved outlet, is the supply low or high? Will the demand be high or low? I leave you to think about it. I'm not going to touch deep into it. It's going to be very straightforward, right? Okay, when you look into this rate, what does rate mean? Rate is actually we call it conserved site. This is a conserved site, and those little tiny red dots is actually a conserved shop house unit. As you can see that if you do not have a plot ratio here, that means that this unit itself cannot increase in GFA. So when you buy a shop house at this area, you are just using the gross GFA from the valuation report to tell the exact value of this property and also analyze the yield return. So this is how we actually look at it. And the good thing about this is that you are buying an art, basically. So that later part I'll share a bit more how the facade look like, everything. So this is buying an art. If you can actually discover the history behind the shop house and bring out the beauty about it, you get to actually increase the value. Of course, like 8Ms, they spend about almost a year in restoring the shop houses. They actually spend millions of dollars to bring up the property value itself to remarket it. So you can do that if you have the capital and resources to do that. Yeah. Okay, so we dive right into the so-called unit itself. As you can see, if you are not in the primary settlement, which is a secondary settlement, you can actually do a rear extension over here, all the way up to maximize the GFA based on the plot ratio. So the beauty of it is that now you get the chance to use the backyard and experience how the people in the past actually enjoy the usage of the property itself, which I love a lot when I visit this property itself. I love a lot in going through this, especially this staircase. It's just like Back to the Future. It's just totally forget. It's like walking up the stairs is such a beauty. So it's not just the front part is beautiful. I think the back is also beautiful. Yeah, this is totally awesome. And from here, right, you can actually have a view of the Jewel residence in unblocked view. Totally awesome. It was going to take you away, right? So this is owning a piece of land that is going to give you rather than the airspace, and the whole thing belongs to you. It's totally awesome. This is the X factor I'm talking about. Okay, I'm going to end this. We have a lot of other things to share, like but due to time constraint, we have other presenters, like what kind of entities are we going to use to hold the assets, and whether you use a company or you use a vehicle. I mean, in terms of to maximize the tax potential of it. But do text us, and or your agent to actually go through with you the financial plan.